Now when we talk about measurement of money supply, for measuring money supply we have 4 tools: M1, M2, M3 and M4. So these are called as narrow money, M1 and M2, and this is called as broad money. Now first of all we'll see the formula and then we'll see the logic. Okay. Now when we say M1, okay, when we say M1, M1 is currency in circulation or currency in cash with the public. Okay, currency with public plus demand deposit with banks plus other deposit with RBI. So basically this other deposit with RBI, basically you can say whatever government money holded by the RBI, usko hum other deposit bolte hain. Okay, so ultimately you know that government passed 45 lakh crore budget, so you can say through parliament 45 lakh crore budget is passed by the parliament, that is for the government. Now no doubt this money is coming from consolidated fund of India. Okay, so it means once it comes out of the consolidated fund of India, it will reach to the concerned departments. So you know that there are more than 50 ministries. Okay, and if you see within the ministries also there are departments. So if you see departments, so these all departments have their own bank account, okay, with SBI. So ultimately to these bank account RBI will put money. Okay, so you can say from consolidated fund of India, money will come to the RBI. RBI will then divide this money to various departments into their SBI account. Okay, so this is what other deposit with RBI means, whatever government money they are holding. Okay, so this is what you have to remember. M2 is basically M1 plus savings in post office. M3 is basically again M1 plus time deposit with banks, and M4 is basically M3 plus all the deposit with post office excluding national saving certificate. NSC, excluding national saving certificate. So this is the formula. Okay, now here remember this thing. So first of all for your prelims, okay, first of all your prelims, if you remember the formula, so they used to give you in maths the following: M1, M2, M3, M4. So if you mug up the formula also, then it will be sufficient. Your one question will get solved. Okay, if question come on this, clear? Clear? Okay, so I hope it is clear to you. Okay. One student is asking, sir, what was the first target of inflation target? Beta, it is 4 plus minus 2%, same. Okay, and we continued it again. Clear? Okay. So if you see, this is the M1, M2, M3 and M4 concept. Okay. Now, here you remember one thing, that this M1, M2, M3 and M4 is calculated on a weekly basis. Okay. So you can say it is these M1, M2, M3 and M4 is calculated on weekly basis, and who is calculating it? It is calculated by RBI. Okay, so ultimately when you are calculated M1, M2, M3, M4 on weekly basis, okay, and that is by RBI. Okay, so RBI has a information with respect to money supply on a weekly basis. Okay, so you can understand in this way. Like for example, in week 1, M1 is A. Suppose M1 value comes out to be A rupees. because it will be in rupees only, currency with the public plus demand deposit plus other deposit with government or RBI. Okay, so it will come in rupees. For example, M1 will come A rupees, M2 is, for example, M2 is M1 plus savings with the post office, so A plus B. Okay, M3 is basically M1 plus time deposit, so you can say A plus C. And when it comes to M4, so M4 is M3 plus all the deposits. Okay, so we can say A plus C plus this B component plus D. So all the deposit matlab saving account of the post office as well as time deposit. Okay, A plus B plus D. So ultimately this is all the deposit. Okay, so suppose this is the situation in week 1. Now in week 2, I am just taking one hypothetical case to make you understand. Now for example, in week 2, suppose M1 is same, that is A plus A rupees. So suppose M1 is same. Okay, M2 is also same, A plus B rupees. But we have seen M3 get changed, A plus C plus E. So ultimately there is change. Okay, there is change. Okay, whereas no doubt whenever there is M1, whenever there is change in M1, M2, M3, M4, so there will be change in M4 also. Okay, so ultimately M4 will be A plus C plus E plus B plus D. Okay, so ultimately there is a change in, you can say, M3. Now when there is a change in M3, what will you say? That there is a change in time deposits of the banks. Yes or no? Okay. Clear? Okay. One student is asking, sir, significance. So have you understood? So week 1 situation is this, week 2 situation is this. So can I say that there is a change in M3 only, or you can say time deposits of banks? Please tell me yes or no. Is this case? If you have you understood this thing, what I want to say? So when this is a situation, so can I say, or when I compare week 2 with week 1, so can I say that there is a change in money supply, but that change is in, is in time deposit of banks? Yes or no? Please tell me, others also. Okay, so suppose this is a situation, week 1, week 2. Okay, okay. So if suppose there is no change in M3, okay, if suppose there is no change in M3 or change is only in M2, so then I will say that there is change in money supply but change is in post office. I can also say like this also. Okay, clear? Now what is the main thing, what I want to tell you here is that whenever you see that post office, where post office are located, most of the post offices are located in rural areas. Okay, so ultimately if M2 is changing, it will indicate that money supply has increased but in rural areas. But if M3 is changed, it will indicate that money supply has increased but in urban areas. Clear? So as I told you that how you will understand, okay, that how you will understand where money supply has increased. Okay, so I have given you. So in this way, you can understand in this way. So I have given you this case. If money supply is increasing in all the sectors, then we will use quantitative tools. If money supply is increasing in particular sectors, so first of all you have to identify where money supply is increasing. Is it is urban area or rural area? Okay, so accordingly you will use your quantitative and qualitative tools. Clear? This is the significance of keeping post office separately. in M2. Clear? In M2. Got it? Got it? This is the relevance or significance of, you can say, keeping M2, that is post office, as a separate. Okay. So ultimately through this you will understand that money supply has increased in which sector or in which area, and accordingly if I go more in detail, although not part of your syllabus, so there is another measure, liquidity aggregates, that will tell you the exact sector where money supply has increased, but you don't have to go in that, you have to just remember this formula. So why we calculate this thing? Clear? I hope the student who is asking that why post office kept separate in M2. Okay, so please reply. Okay, so this is the logic that you have to remember with respect to this. If you remember this concept, automatically you remember what is M1, M2, M3, M4. Okay, now moving further. Okay, moving further, we'll see the types of, you can say, monetary policy. So there are two types. One is contractionary monetary policy and another is expansionary monetary policy. Now in contractionary monetary policy, the intention is to reduce the money supply, and when the intention is reduce money supply, it means we will increase the rates. Whereas in expansionary monetary policy, the intention is to increase the money supply. So in that case, what we will do, we will decrease the rates. Okay, so it means whenever monetary policy intention is to reduce the money supply, okay, like right now we are doing, that means we are following contractionary monetary policy. Okay, and whenever intention is to increase the money supply, so the intention is to increase the money supply. So this is what you have to understood, that contractionary and expansionary monetary policy. Now here you have to remember this thing, that contractionary monetary policy also known as tight monetary policy, okay, or dear monetary policy, whereas expansionary monetary policy also known as cheap monetary policy. Okay, cheap monetary policy. Now sometimes we use a term hawkish also. Hawkish. So this is what you can say, newspaper use sometimes these terms, hawkish monetary policy. So like one student asked me, sir, what is hawkish monetary policy? Hawkish monetary policy is nothing but contractionary monetary policy. Okay, and we use the word dovish monetary policy for expansionary monetary policy. Clear? So this is what you have to understood, the meaning, or you can say types of policy, that is contractionary and expansionary. Clear? Similarly, we have in fiscal policy we have contractionary fiscal policy, as well as expansionary fiscal policy. Now when we say contractionary fiscal policy, what does it mean? Basically in contractionary fiscal policy, government, or you can say if your expenditure is less than your receipts, or you can say your receipts are more than expenditure, then it is a contractionary fiscal policy. Whereas in expansionary fiscal policy, your expenditure is more than receipts. Okay, your expenditure is more than receipts. Clear? So ultimately when your receipts are more than expenditure, or you can understand in this way that if suppose your expenditure is also more than receipts but you are trying to reduce it, so it means you are moving towards contractionary fiscal policy. Okay, so ultimately this is what, okay, so this is what you have to understand. Whereas in expansionary fiscal policy your expenditure is more than receipts, or you can say receipts are less than expenditure. Clear? Receipts are less than expenditure. Okay, so contractionary and expansionary. So in this way you have to understand. Okay, so contractionary fiscal policy means receipts are more than expenditure. Here expansion is this thing. Okay, now what is the relationship between, you can say, what is the relationship between expansionary and fiscal policy? We'll understand this thing. Now I make one diagram in the beginning, and there I told you that this is government. So red box represents government, and this represents circulation of money in the market. Okay, so ultimately this is managed by fiscal policy, and this portion is managed by, so you can say this portion is managed by fiscal policy, that is red portion, and this yellow portion is managed by your monetary policy. Now if suppose money supply has increased, in the market, so we want to reduce it, so monetary policy wants to reduce it or absorb that excess money supply, but at the same time if government is spending more money, so it is a failure of monetary policy. So we want that whenever you can say RBI is trying to reduce or increase or decrease the money supply, we want coordination of fiscal policy. Okay, we want coordination of fiscal policy. So ultimately there should be a coordination between fiscal policy and monetary policy. Otherwise there will be a failure of, you can say, fiscal policy and, or you can say failure of monetary policy. Clear? So is it clear till here? So any doubt you can ask me now.